What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we'll be talking about Port Adelaide's clash with Brisbane over the weekend at Adelaide Oval for round 3. So let's get straight into it and have a look exactly what went down. Whew. That was lucky. I tell you what, that was a very intense last few moments in that game. It looked like Port Adelaide had the game under wraps going into the last quarter with a brilliant third quarter. But unfortunately, Brisbane came back. But fortunately, we stayed in front and we got that win. It was a very nervous end to that game and very intense. And I think the 36,500 that were there over the weekend were just thinking, what the hell has happened or is happening in front of our eyes. I tell you what, though, it wasn't all that bad. There were some good passages of play over the weekend that we should take notice of. But then again, there was some passages of play that we should also take notice of that weren't quite impressive. And the one thing that I'd say that we still have as a team is the split personalities. When our team is on, it's unbelievable to watch. It's the best of the best. When our team is not on, our worst is few and far between. But I mean, there is a gap between the best and worst, and if that's something that's going to continue on, then it's going to hurt us on the long run. But nonetheless, it wasn't that bad of a game. Some people obviously are looking at the result and looking too deep into the result, and they're thinking, you know, lose to Brisbane, it's the end of the world. Which, you know what, loses all our credibility from the Sydney game. But we didn't lose, and there was at times we dominated the game. At times Brisbane took it to us. But I think the main thing we've got to take into consideration is the fact that we had that game on our terms in that third quarter, and we had our chances to put them away early as well, and we just didn't take our set shots. Didn't take our chances in front of goal. We ended up kicking 14 goals 13 when at one stage we were 12 goals 7. And obviously at the start of the game we were 2 goals 4, 2 goals 5. There was just stages where we just wasted opportunities, and these weren't opportunities that were half chances, they were full chances in front of goal. For a perfect example, and I don't want to do this, but Travis Boak, 30 metres out in front of goal in the last quarter, a time to put the team in front, put it beyond doubt, hits the post, Brisbane kick another couple of goals, and it's 5 points for the last 2 minutes. Those are the chances you've got to take, and if you take those chances, then we don't have this conversation of our best is great and our worst is horrible. It's just patches and games where we don't keep that consistency, and if we keep that consistency going on and if we can improve it, then this conversation doesn't have to happen anymore. I tell you what though, it was a very ordinary effort from certain players yesterday, and I think as a collective we just didn't get rolling at any stage. Brisbane really took it to us, and it's a real credit to them because they had just no worry in the world. They just went out there and played their game. They wanted to prove a point. And I tell you what, Brisbane are going to give a few sides some headaches this year. And players like Zorko, you've got players like Rayner, who was great yesterday. You know, other players as well that were just really impressive. Charlie Cameron, who was an ex-Crow, really gave us some headaches down forward as well. Hipwood really started in the second half and really started to develop into the game really well. So it's these opportunities that Brisbane are going to take more often than not later down the track. But lucky enough, Port Adelaide did take their chance at the end. And what a great marking save by Jared Pollock right at the end on the goal line. And I tell you what, if he chose to put himself there, that is one of the smartest footy decisions he'll ever make in his career. So he certainly saved us, and he was one of our best yesterday along with a couple of others. Sam Gray proved his point that he's not going to be dropped. So certain fans are saying Sam Gray should be dropped. No way, not after yesterday's performance. It was him that kept us in the game with his 3 goals, his 21 possessions, and he was very classy around the footy. That's what I noticed. He was very classy, really read the play really well, and was at his best. And he looked like he was playing more up the field. He was a great two-way runner as well. He was in the defence, really helping out our defenders, but also in the midfield, helping out them, and then down forward kicking his goals. So it's a real credit to him to say, well, look, I'm here. I'm not playing to my potential, as he didn't in the last couple of games. People admit, and I know someone will agree with me, that yes, he wasn't his best in the first 2 games, but he's just gradually building to the performance he did yesterday, and he can proudly say that he put his heart out, and he was definitely our best player on the ground, along with Jared Pollock, as I stated before. Hamish Hartlett was sensational as well in his performance across half-back, really putting his body on the line and really using his leadership. I mean, the rest of the back six really struggled. And I just want to touch on that as well. We praised him last week against the Swans, against an all-out attack with Buddy Franklin. But the game with Brisbane yesterday, I think they really felt they were... I don't know if it was overhyped, but more it looked like they weren't as good and they weren't as interested, or they didn't apply as much pressure because they knew it wasn't as much of a threat, Brisbane. But I think we did underestimate Brisbane a little bit more, and we found that out during the game, and obviously after the game we really reset ourselves. Nonetheless, we got the victory, which is the main thing. So key players, key personnel were really quiet as well yesterday, that we don't want to see. Players like Travis Boak, who was really quiet. Westhoff didn't have his influence at all, and I think, speaking of Westhoff, he's not a start-up ruckman, and we found that out yesterday against a top-class ruckman. We've got Bellchambers from Essendon next week. You don't want to risk it again, and we see what they did last year to us. We're not going to use that as a focus point, but that performance yesterday from the Hoff and the ruck, you can't do it in there full time. You've got to have Charlie go in there or bring in Billy Frampton. I think it's time to bring him in until Paddy comes in. It's the biggest explanation I can give you, is the fact that we need a set ruckman who can do the job, and if Billy's not ready, then something's got to happen and Charlie's got to play more on the ruck, even though we can't afford to have him there. And if we lose him to injury, that's another problem in itself. We do have coverage down the forward front with Watts and Marshall, and Westhoff can go down there, but Paddy is missing, and Paddy is our most important player for sure. Just a few stats for you as well that I just want to focus on. Our efficiency with the ball itself, 75% with 380 odd disposals. Not too bad. I think it was more the fact that we didn't take our opportunities in front of goal. It was 58% efficiency inside 50, so we did use our chances there, 32 from 58 entries. We did win that, and the disposal counts. We had more of the ball and dominated a little bit more. I think that's due to the third quarter, which was in itself phenomenal. And I saw a stat that stated our third quarter so far this year, kicking 6 goals, 3 against Fremantle in round 1, 7 goals, 3 against Sydney in round 2, and then again on the weekend, 7 goals again in the third quarter. So third quarter specialist, so that's a good thing, but can't rely on one quarter. We've got to play 4-quarter performance. Another thing as well, which I pointed out on with inside 50s, is Mark's inside 50, 16 to 8. So we doubled Brisbane's, but we didn't take our opportunities. It says in itself. And if we don't take those opportunities, then you're going to be found out, and we nearly did on Saturday. Tackles was a big worry for me. I feel like that in the first half against Sydney last week, we didn't tackle well, and then we brought the pressure on. But I think over the weekend, especially in the game yesterday, 45 tackles in total to 61. There was a couple of years where we were tackling specialists. Now we just lost that pressure around the contest a bit more, and they found us out, Brisbane, and got out the back and had a lot of uncontested possessions from that. So the pressure in the middle has got to be applied a bit more. And 45 tackles in a game of footy is a little disappointing. You should be getting around that 60-plus mark. It was an open game, but nonetheless, you've got to be applying that pressure. And I feel like, especially in the defence, we weren't really applying that pressure around the ball carrier. And we've got to really fix that, especially moving into the better teams coming up against Essendon and Geelong in particular. Hit-outs 22 to 55. Stephen Martin dominated us, simple as that. It's just something that we can't rely on anymore. We've got to bring in someone who can fill that ruck role until Paddy comes back. And the other one I want to mention as well, linking with that hit-outs, we did just lose the clearance game with 41 inside 50s to 33, so we just got pipped there. So it's good that we, even though we're not winning the ruck contest, we are at least winning the footy out of the middle and around the contest. When we get the clearance, but we've got to lower our eyes a bit more, and I noticed that we just bombed away a bit more than we did hitting a target. So a little bit more pressure, calmness around the ball, and just trying to use every split second possible to hit that target. But nonetheless, it was an interesting game. It's something that we can improve on, but we got the win. So 4 points, 3 zip, and now top of the ladder. You can't complain about that. Alright, moving into the votes for the weekend, and I'll tell you what, others as we know, the 5 votes for a win and 3 votes for a loss, just because there's always some good performances. But I'll tell you what, from the game on the weekend, there were not too many to pick from, but I did find 5 that I feel like did have an influence on the contest. So, the pair votes for 2018 round 3 against the Brisbane Lions go to, one vote goes to Chad Wingard, 20 disposals and a goal. His pressure down forward was really good, and I feel like he created a contest, even though he looked like he was under an injury cloud as well. But nonetheless, he was influential on the contest and really gave us some extra run around the ball as well. So, well done to Chad. He does look like he's struggling a bit. But he will improve as the year goes on, especially with the restricted pre-season. 2 votes goes to Ollie Wines with his 25 possessions. Didn't have as much of an impact as he has in the first 2 games. But with his injury to his ankle in that quarter where he rolled it, he did come back on, influenced the second half and was really promising as a leader and really got the ball out of the middle as well, which was good to see. I really wanted to give this bloke 5 votes, best on ground. But there was 2 others that really stood out even more in the attacking half. But 3 votes goes to Hamish Hartlett. 26 disposals at 88% efficiency in a game where it was very scrappy is something to be proud of. And Hamish Hartlett has had a stellar start to the year across the half-back flank. I tell you what, I thought Riley Bonner was our best defender for the year so far. Hamish Hartlett has taken that in his stride. He's had a brilliant first 3 games, and if he continues on, he's almost all-Australian in contention at the moment. Obviously, there's a few others around, and no one will really pick a Port player to play the halfback role, but he's playing really well so far, so keep it up, Hammer. 4 votes goes to the man that is a massive goalkeeper in that last quarter with a minute to go, Jared Pollock, having his usual influence on the game, kicking... did he kick a goal? I don't think he did, but he did have a great game across the forward line, having 20-odd possessions and really just influencing the game and running around and creating targets and really hitting his target. He's looking fantastic, Nick, Jared Pollock. He's really getting his own ground ball, which is good to see. And we finally found out that he's got a right foot on the weekend, which was great to see because he never uses it. And when he did on the weekend, I saw him twice do it. They were both absolute shockers. But nonetheless, it's good to see him. He's got one. So that's the main thing. Jared Pollock gets the 4 votes there, and 5 votes goes to a man that influenced the contest around the middle of the ground, was influential down forward, kicking 3 goals, but also down throughout the ground, was just really creating an extra target and really helped us when the chips were a bit down on the weekend. I know certain someone will be really happy to see this, but best on ground goes to Sam Gray for the 5 votes, 21 possessions, 3 goals, and just was phenomenal around the contest. And really, when the team needed it, someone stood up, and Sammy Gray did so. So well done to those blokes who had a stellar performance on the weekend in a game. It was very scrappy and very hard to pick, but we got the win. Alright, Port fans, that wraps up this review of Port Adelaide versus Brisbane for round 3. I do understand it's gone a bit long, but thank you very much for sticking around and watching the video, and thank you for everyone on Spreaker who is listening to this review as well. If you don't want to watch me, listen to me. It's simple as that on Spreaker on the Port Fan Radio Network. Speaking of the radio network for Port Fan Radio, it also has the Portress podcast on there, so follow that, 8 PM every Wednesday night, where you'll find me and the boys talking about this game and every other game throughout the year, previewing and reviewing, and just looking at Port Adelaide in particular. All things Port Adelaide, and that's why you should subscribe to the channel as well. Every week, reviews, previews, vlogs, and other great stuff, great content that come from the Port Adelaide Football Club, and from me. So thank you very much for tuning in, Port fans. My name is Anthony, and as always, come the pair.